Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I have Miss Uche here. She actually reached out to me, after watching one of my videos. I've encouraged a lot of you ladies, especially to reach out to me because honestly, like I say, I just want to know. I'm just trying to get the information and trying to do my best to help, the women and the men, that are out here so that we can actually come together. And if you guys, like I said, have been watching my channel for a while, that's what I'm about. I'm all about marriage. So, she reached out to me on Instagram. That is the best way for you all to reach out to me. And she was just like, hey, I know I have a YouTube channel and you're just trying to find normal people, but I'm definitely willing to come out and be a part. So I was like, come on, I'm always down for a really great conversation. So I'll put her information, in the description. So if you guys want to check out, her channel. So I do thank, her for coming out today. So yeah, she is married, I believe, and she was born in Chicago, but her culture is Nigerian. So I do think that that matters because a lot of times we're talking about generational black in America, but I think it's really good to get an outside perspective, especially one which the marriages are a little bit stronger. So I'll let her give a little bit of an introduction of herself, and then we can get started this morning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Uche, and yes, I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in Nigeria. So I am married. I've been married for over 10 years. I do have children with my husband. So one husband that has has all my children. And I started my YouTube channel in January of this year, 2024, because I recently just stumbled upon the whole world of YouTube about 2 years ago. I used to use YouTube for like fitness and hair stuff, but never about, I never knew what was going on with the male and female dynamics when it comes to relationships. So I stumbled upon Kevin Samuel's stuff 2 years ago after he had passed away. Before then, I never knew who he was. I had never heard of his name. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, it made so much sense to me because in my culture, the things that Kevin Samuels was talking about was normal. It didn't, none of his information triggered me. I guess my shock was that men and women were actually having a hard time coming together and cooperating. I did not know that that was an issue until 2 years ago when I started listening to all this content on relationships and marriage and stuff like that. So that's when I was like, whoa, I think I might be able to give women few tips and few tricks on how to create healthy relationships and how to sustain them. So that's why I created my YouTube channel.
So I guess the first question I have for you is, are you married to a Nigerian guy, or are you married to like another culture, or are you married to someone here in America?
I'm married to a Nigerian guy. I did meet him in Chicago. So yes, I'm married to a Nigerian.
No, I mean, it's no problem, but I just want to make sure everybody understands out there, okay, that we're talking about a different culture. But I think that that's
Right.
good because, like I say, from my perspective, I've done a lot of weddings, in
Okay.
my back when I was doing media, and I've done African weddings, all over, different parts of Africa. Most of them were Nigerian.
Okay.
And then I did a couple Somalian, Ethiopian, and, then I've done a lot of American, weddings. And
Okay.
I find that everything about them is just totally different. The
Hmm.
way that the men walk and they present themselves. And, it's like I've told some people, because, you have the passport bros, and I'm sure you've heard about those.
Right.
And so you have a lot of men, and I think this is where we have, the first part of this disconnect, because, you were talking about all these problems. And there's problems out here, but I don't think they're as many as, first of all, the media makes it out to be. I'm
Okay.
always talking about how I think that the media just blows everything up. But I think that what we have is we have a divide, and it's generally with certain people that are just having a little bit more of a difficult time. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I know for me, and I've said this before, like when I talk to a lot of women from Nigeria, I've dated two women from Nigeria, and they love me. They actually have no problem with me because, I actually come from a home with both parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I walk, and my dad was the leader of the house, and I walk
Mm-hmm.
in that,
Yeah.
in that masculinity. But for a lot of African Americans, like I say, generational Black, because I got people fighting with me over what terms I should use. But a lot of Black people in America, they weren't raised with their dad.
Right.
And so I think that is really the number one issue, is because you have so many Black people that are not raised with their dad. The men don't really know how to be men. The women don't know how to stay in their feminine.
Right.
And then those are the people that are fighting the most.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not necessarily even people like me, because, like I say, the way I navigate is as soon as a woman comes in, and I've talked about this before, she comes in and she's trying to rule me,
Right.
like a lot of those women, that come from single moms try to do, immediately it doesn't work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm offended, it's just that I don't have any chemistry with her. I don't like that, the way that feels.
Right.
She shows me very quickly that, she's not going to allow me to lead. And so I just am pretty much done with the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And, just kind of like what you were saying with Kevin Samuels, when he first showed up, believe it or not, Christian Singles Connect, which is my Christian group. And, we actually have a lot of members over there. And we have been talking about this stuff for a long period of time. And it was funny because people were coming into the group and they were talking about Kevin Samuels. And when I first heard about him, I was like, we say the same stuff over here. We just don't cuss nobody out.
Yeah.
I was like, we don't have to cuss nobody out in order to say the same thing. And so I think that there was always this disconnect where people were thinking one thing when it really was going another. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really about now, I think we're at a place where we fully can see that some people were taught totally different. They were taught totally different. And now that I'm in the dating space, I actually can see it. I truly can see it. I can see it where women were literally taught, no, you have to take care of yourself. No, the man is not going to take care of you. No, he's not
Mm-hmm.
going to ever do anything for you. And then there's men that I don't know exactly how they were taught, but they were either taught that, hey, the woman will take care of you. Oh, she'll be your mom. Oh, you can sit around all day. You don't have to work. And for me, that's just as foreign as it probably is for you. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the core issue. But in the women, I just want to make sure I broke that down. But in the women and the people that you've run into, okay, what do you think are the biggest struggles that you see a lot of women having, here in the U.S.?
Okay. So in terms of the women, my main groups of, because I'm in a lot of different groups of women,
Mm-hmm.
they're mainly Nigerian women. So not to say that I don't have African American friends or non-Black friends. It's just that because that I was raised in that community, so I kind of just grew in that community. So the main women I'm going to be speaking about would be, you know, the Nigerian women. I have seen that even though Nigeria is a traditional country, it's part Christian and part Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
all joined together. We all pretty much just have the same traditional mindset when it comes to the male and female dynamics and coming together. But what I've seen lately in the last 2 years is that even though we were raised, let me just say, African women were raised in that traditional mindset, we're now more westernized than anything else, you see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if hopefully I'm saying it the right way.
Yeah, you're saying it the right way, but I think
Right.
there's probably a lot of men that are like, see, passport bros, you got to keep them overseas. So, how would you respond to the passport bros that are going to say that?
I mean, you're the passport bros, first of all, is not a new concept to me. I think, let me just speak on the version that I know. When I was a little girl growing up in Nigeria, we saw a lot of the Nigerian men that lived overseas for X amount of years. They would eventually, when they want to get married, they would leave the women overseas, but come back home to Nigeria to pick a wife. That was a lot of what I was seeing. And I'm talking about many years ago because I'm in my 40s. So I'm talking about many years ago. I saw that as a little girl. So now that I'm new to the idea of passport bros, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of understand why they would do that because I saw it as a little girl when I was growing up,
Yeah,
you
but see, I
see.
think the key
So,
here
but
is dealing with African American men that are doing it, and they're
going
going
there.
into Nigeria, getting Nigerian women, and trying to bring them back. They're basically rejecting American women, Black American women, and they're saying that you're not what we're looking for. So we would
Mhm.
rather, like I say, that would be like me going to Nigeria and saying instead of getting a African American woman, I'm going to try to find me a Nigerian woman.
Well, a lot of the Nigerian women these days, not when I was growing up, but these days, they're very westernized in their thinking. They're very modern in their thinking. The women are very accomplished, like highly accomplished women, because that is our culture. Our culture teaches that men and women, you have to get those high degrees. The women still has to be traditional in her thinking, but you have to get those high degrees. So you will come across a lot of the women in Nigeria that are very highly educated, and they are, when it comes to finances, they're high up there. But if you're looking for that traditional mindset, I don't know if you're going to find that authentic traditional mindset in a lot of the Nigerian women now in today's day back home, because a lot of them have been westernized. This idea that women, that traditional 1950s woman does not really exist currently in Nigeria because the Western culture has penetrated Nigeria and women have grabbed onto that concept of the modern, woman. So when you're talking, you'll still find, men will still find those traditional values in the women, but they're completely watered down.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I don't think men are looking for like for me, like for instance, I love smart women. I've dated two women that have had PhDs, so I don't think that a lot of passport bro type men are looking for a woman that wants to be barefoot and pregnant, quote unquote. I think what
No.
they're looking for is a woman who recognizes that the family comes first and that it's not about their money first. See, a lot of American women are money first and
Got
then
it. Got it.
everything else comes after. And so, from a lot of men's perspective, that's in reverse, And like even with me, and I've made a couple videos about it because generally, actually in America, like when I was growing up, they had so much media and commercials that were trying to convince men to say stop allowing your job to be the number one thing. Focus in on
Okay.
your family.
Okay.
And what happened is, as Black women started to get more and more power, they started to move towards the job over the family. So, like, I literally dated a woman who told me that even though she wanted to have two children, even though she had a little bit of money, she basically told me she was not giving up her career. She was not stopping her career. Her career was the number one thing. It came over everything, even her children.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people had told me, "Oh, you can still date her. She's probably, just saying that." And I'm like, no, it's a lot
Mm-mm.
of Black women out here that truly believe that their job is the number one thing. And I was like, I'm not going to marry a woman where the family comes in second, to her job. To me, it's God, then your spouse, then your children, then honestly your family and friends, then your job. You can always get another job you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so I think for a lot of passport bros, they're not necessarily looking for a woman that is broke. And a lot of passport bros have money. That's how they're able to go
Right.
overseas in the first place. So
Exactly.
these are highly educated Black men. The key, I think, what a lot of them are looking for is they're looking for, like I say, a woman who just has more of a traditional value. She actually sees the family coming first over her job. not necessarily saying that she is against education and things like that. So
Okay.
I think it's interesting, like I say, from your perspective as being, Nigerian. That's why I was saying, because I know when I've dated, excuse me, women that were Nigerian, like I said, they love me. They
Mm-hmm.
liked me because I didn't mind that they had their own business. I didn't mind that they were educated. I actually liked that. But then I liked the fact that they were very quick to say, "Oh, sit down. Oh, let me cook you something." "Oh, let me take care of this." And if we do end up together, then I'm gonna make sure that you're the head of the house. And I mean, they had no problem quickly moving into that. Where with a lot of black women in America, it's like I have to fight with it. You know,
Okay.
they don't want to give that up. And you have to realize from an African American perspective, black women have never. I shouldn't say never. It was only until the '80s that black men could actually protect black women
Okay.
because we could be walking down the street, literally. I mean, there's movies with this stuff. We could be walking down the street and then a cop pull up. We've done absolutely nothing, and then they take us to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then the court system was never on our side. So it's really only been in the last 40 years, which, like I say, I'm in my 40s, that black women, could really lean on their husbands, to protect them. And see, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this, to me, the problem that we have is that, you're dealing with that. You're dealing with the fact that a lot of black women, their grandmother and their mother, you know, could not could not even rely on, grandfather or their father because they didn't know what was going to
Right.
happen to them.
Right.
So they even if they were married, they felt like they had to deal with it on their own. So I guess from a person, like I said, now looking out, looking in, what do you think black women can do in order to help them, get in a place where they could, have more black. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to stop the overseas thing. I'm not saying the men can't go overseas. Like I said, I'm not against it, but it's like
Right.
I do think that there's so many really great black women here,
Yeah. I
you know,
agree.
so how can these black women, get, something? I don't even know really how to describe it, but how can they get to these really great black men?
In my opinion, it starts from the mindset. What I've seen is a lot of the African American women, they come from a mindset of fear to begin with. They are afraid to trust a man or trust the black man, let me say, because they believe that the black man is not, in general, is not stable enough to protect them to begin with. That's what I've been hearing. And they believe that not just protection, but maybe a segment of protection would be like financial protection. They don't believe that the black man can financially protect them. That's one thing. That's one fear they have. Another fear they have is stories that they say they've heard from way back in the day where the man will leave. He will up and leave his family and go start another family somewhere else. So that's another fear that they do have. He can't protect me financially, or he will leave me. Even though statistics show that women leave men more often than men leave women, they're not concerned about facts. They're mainly coming from a place of fear. So how do you switch that fear into faith is to begin with. They can't change how they operate until their mindset, their belief system changes to begin with. So that's where they have to start from, if you ask me. You have to start from a place where I have to start reprogramming my mind to believe that there are genuinely good Black men out there for me that can protect me, that can, hold me down financially, and also that I can cooperate with. Because the main thing that I was taught from my own culture is how a woman can cooperate with a man. Because my culture says women do it better. Women know how to cooperate. There's something about that feminine energy that just knows how to cooperate with this masculine energy. My parents always taught me that women do it best. Men know how to cooperate, but women know how to cooperate even better than men. That's why in my culture, they ingrained it in us that women are the ones that, you know, hold the relationship, hold the marriage steady and together, because we do cooperation as women the best. So then the teaching now started becoming, how do we teach women how to cooperate with a man? You see, so it starts from, because I never had those kind of fears ingrained in me. I never even knew there was a fear that women had about men in terms of protecting, providing, leading, stuff like that. I never knew women had that fear until like 2 years ago. I'm like, oh wow, where's that fear coming from? Why do they believe the way they believe? Because your actions are going to follow your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't change your belief system, they'll continue to operate through that fear, and they'll continue to get the same outcomes over and over again. And those outcomes are not favorable for them.
No, that was good. I'm writing notes, by the way,
Oh,
when I'm looking down. So I guess, based off that, can you give us a little bit about your own family background? Like, how I know you were, like I said, born in Chicago, but how, did you grow up? Did you grow up like both parents, all that kind of thing? Can you say just, 2 seconds about that?
so my parents have been married for, I don't know, 50 years, 52, 50, maybe 50, I don't know, but 50 and above, whatever it is. They're still married. My parents don't stay far from where I live, which is a good thing. They only had three girls, and I'm in the middle. Um, so my father was the head of the household, because my Nigerian culture is not just our culture, it's our religion at the same time. So religion and culture are intertwined. So that meant for me, when I was growing up in Nigeria, no matter where you went, if you went to school, you had to do like religious studies. It was mandatory for everybody. There was only two religions in Nigeria. You're either Christian or you're Muslim. That's it. But it was mandatory during my time when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you went, there was all the the culture and the religion were always preached. You see, you had to abide by the religious and cultural standards because they were intertwined. It didn't matter where you were always reminded of how to conduct yourself as a man and how to conduct yourself as a woman. Now in today's day, in my country, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, it's been watered down a lot. It's not like how I grew up in the 80s and in the 90s in Nigeria. So, but the main thing is the man is the head of the household. You can't dispute that. You can't. I mean, it just is what it is. And then the woman is the one who, you know, just makes sure that the household is running as it's supposed to run according to what the man is saying. This is so the man lays the rules. These are, the rules of how I want the family to go. The woman puts her own opinions in there. They mix it all together. But the woman is the one that has to be creative. See, that's where her power is. The woman's power is in being creative. Okay, if these are the goals of the whole family, how can I as a woman become creative? The man doesn't decide how you should be creative as a woman, but the woman is the one, she comes up with her own creativity to carry out those goals. So that's how the man and the woman stay on the same page, because the man says, this is how I want the family to run in a positive, healthy way and move it forward. And then the woman says, you know, I think it should go this way. I think it should go that way. The man has a final say. So once they come together and say these are the goals of this family, the man just leaves it and goes and does his work and to provide for the family. The woman now becomes the creative one. This is how we're going to do it. It's the same goals,
Mm-hmm.
but she becomes the creative one. This is how it's going to run in order for us to carry out these goals that the man has set.
No, I
At
mean,
least that's how it was when I was growing up, and that's how my parents raised me and my siblings.
okay. No, I mean, I think that's good information. So here's a good one because I'm starting to lean it more towards just the Nigerian culture because I'm sure that this is actually will help a lot of people.
Okay.
Okay, through that, based off what you said and everything that and I know you might not be a full, statistician or whatever, from Nigeria, but because okay, so the African American community is a matriarchy. It's one of the few matriarchies in the world. Okay, where the women rule and the men try to figure it out, right?
Right.
Well, most of the world is a patriarchy. The
Right.
man rules. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of African Americans want things to move to a patriarchy. They believe that that's really how Black people in America should be living. But then you
Okay.
have a lot of Black women, especially Black women in high power, that don't want that. All right. And see, that's another reason why you have things like the passport bros and such and such. So here's a question. And I know, like I said, this is kind of putting you on the spot. And I know you might not have studied all the stats, but in this patriarchal world of the Nigerian culture, because it's not just in Nigeria, literally, there's Nigerians all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't know that at home. Nigeria is, they got a lot of money, guys, and they're all over. They
Yes.
actually have the third largest film community. Like I
Mm-hmm.
told people in media, I've actually done some work with Nigerians in the past when it comes to film. So they're doing a lot in Nigeria
Mm-hmm.
right now. So of this patriarchal environment, okay, and of the fact like your parents were married for a long period of time, different things like that, what percentage of women that are in this type of environment would you say that are happy, not abused? Because a lot of Black women think that all these patriarchies, the men are abusing the women and throwing them up against the wall and all this other kind of crazy crap. So, what would you consider to be a good percentage of happy, healthy, types of relationships? Like I said, and I know you don't know everything, but you have friends and you've
Yeah.
seen things and things like that. So what would you say is that?
Let me start by saying majority of my friends
Mm-hmm.
are actually married. I don't have that many single friends. And I like I said, I'm in different women's groups. So majority of them are married. Um, or the ones that are single, their parents are married,
Mm-hmm.
unless one is deceased. You see, so that's pretty much where I speak from. So when what I see is a lot of them seem to be happy and or satisfied. I think it's mainly because you're not always going to be happy as a human being, but are they satisfied? From what I see, I would say yes, they actually are satisfied. Um, and like I say, these women are they're highly educated, they're accomplished, they're making money to their satisfaction, but in their homes, they are satisfied. These women know how to just I keep going back to that word, cooperate. It's a cooperation thing. Once you because we were all raised to cooperate with a man. Not the man is still the head of the household. Nigeria is a patriarchal country, but and even though the women are highly educated, they still know that the man is the head of the household and the man calls the shots, if you want to say, but they also have their own opinion. You see, from what I'm seeing with the African American women, they believe that in a patriarchy, the woman is mute. The woman cannot put her own opinions, on the table, and the woman is always being, or like a servant kind of position is where the woman is. But far from that. I honestly, I mean, I when I was growing up, I saw that, but it was like a minor section of people that happened to. Most people want to talk in the extremes. There's the extreme of that, but I believe that majority of human beings around the world live in the middle. and the middle is larger than the extreme. Most people are living average lives. Most people are not living in the extreme of, oh, the man is beating me up, the man is killing me, I have so much trauma. Most people don't have trauma.
No, I mean I agree with you, and and I've
You
kind of
know,
said it before. Most of my friends are married. I mean, like over 85% of my friends are married. Over 85% of my friends had both parents growing up. And it happens in the African American community. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to convince more people to try to make it happen. And like one of the things that I'm always trying to tell a lot of the Black people that watch me is that if you did not have it growing up, see, like you had it, so you understood it.
mm-hmm.
You had 18 years or 22 years, or however long, to watch your parents make it work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I had 19 years of that. But a lot of Black people in America, they've never had it. They haven't even had one day, and so
Wow.
they're coming in 100% confused, not understanding what to do. And you nor me can give them 19 years, 20 years, 30 years of education on a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always encouraging them to read as much as they can, to
Yeah.
stay in church, to get into marriage groups, to watch TV shows where people are trying to make marriage work, to get around marriage minded people so that they can
Mm-hmm.
learn, and constantly work because they're going to have to work. It's going to be
Yeah.
twice as hard for them as it is for like you or me,
Yeah.
because we had just a little bit more background, and you probably had it 10 times easier than me, because I'm divorced, so that shows that there was still that disconnect of information, that I just didn't receive, in order to continue me forward. But now I understand that I have to work harder, in my next marriage, in order to make it happen. And I'm glad that you talked about the middle and the extremes and the fact of this, like I say, just being healthy,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I agree with you. I think a lot of American Black women, they watch, and again, it's media. They're watching this
Yeah.
stuff on media. It's like when you watch Diary of a Mad Black Woman and you see the woman gets beat up by the guy, and then he literally
Mm-hmm.
drags her down the hallway, and it's kind of like that probably happens one out of 100,000 women. That's not happening all the time. But the problem is when we see it, we get scared.
Yes.
And I think you hit it dead on the money talking about fear.
Yeah.
So how can how do you think a lot of Black women in America, and maybe this is, like I said, because I know your friends are, in that marriage group and stuff like that. But what do you think these single women can do to get over their fear? Or what could, where can they go to learn? I'm just trying to figure out how we can help them, to get out of this fear of good men. I want them to
Yeah.
be afraid of Pookie and Ray Ray. I
Yeah.
want them to
Yeah.
be afraid of them, but I don't want them to be afraid of good men,
Right.
who lead them well. So,
Yes.
what do you think about that?
Okay. First of all, let me say there's no easy way for women to be able to get over that fear. They just have to put themselves out there. Like the Bible says, faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not working towards, okay, let me figure out where to go to get information. YouTube is a very good place to start the awareness, though. Become aware of there are good marriages out there, and don't knock it, because you can't knock something that you want when you see it in other people. Because that's another thing that I've noticed. When women that are in healthy relationships or marriages, when they come out and say things on any social media platform, you have a lot of women coming to knock that. And I'm like, how is it that you say you're praying for a good man and you see a woman that has a good man and you want to knock that? It comes back to you. You'll never be able to have that kind of healthy relationship. You see, a lot of women talk about manifesting a man and this and manifestation, this and that. But I don't think they really know how manifestation works. You can't put it out there saying that you want a good man, and then when you see that in other women, you want to knock that and say, oh well, she's probably just not telling the truth, and this and the other, and then she's, the man is probably doing worse things to her. Like, why would that be the first thought in your mind when you see a healthy relationship? So they have to make that personal decision. And honestly, nobody can make that decision for them. They have to decide to change that programming in their mind to begin with. That's step number one. They have to decide to change that programming in their mind, because women do know, they've heard that there are healthy relationships out there. And even if maybe they didn't experience it for themselves, but they've seen other people, maybe one or two. You just need one. You
Mm-hmm.
just need, even if you didn't have that many, like how I had when I was growing up, and
Mm-hmm.
even currently, just one. You
Mm-hmm.
you you should be able to say, if it can happen for them, then maybe it can happen for me, and begin to study, what are these people? What do I see that they're doing that I probably could emulate and put it into practice, and begin to see if I can attract or manifest the type of man that I want. Because I truly believe that the type of man that women want, that type
Mm-hmm.
of man is out there. But unfortunately, they're not willing to do the work, because it is work.
Mm-hmm.
They're not willing to do the work. They believe that he should accept me the way I am. Even my husband doesn't accept me the way I am. I mean, I have to make changes because I'm married. I'm not single. So of course I can't just be, I have to make changes, because it's not just one, it's two people coming together as one. So naturally, you have to make those changes. But I think that a lot of our women don't believe that they have to make that change in order to get the kind of man that they want, because the kind of man they want is out there. That's me. It's just what I believe. The good men are out there, and there are enough for the women willing to make that change. But the problem is, our women are not willing to make that change, and the change starts from the mind, and it's very, very hard to change the mindset, because it's thoughts that have been ingrained in them from when they were first born to now wherever they are. So it's almost like a daily reprogramming of the mind. That's where it starts, in order for them to see long lasting changes that are favorable to them, because their ask of a man is simple. I don't think it's, unless they start getting into, oh, his shoes got to be this way, his socks got, oh, those frivolous things that don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing is, the women have to change their mindset. There's no getting away from that. It starts from the mind. They
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that they have to change. Well, they're going to have to change that programming. You're going to have to change. If it's losing weight, you're going to have to lose that weight. If you have issues with, I'm not supposed to lose my weight, oh well, then you're going to continue to get the same outcomes you're getting, which are not favorable. And then they're going to continue to come online and start spewing all manner of nonsense from their mouth. You see, so it starts from the programming. They're going to have to reprogram their thinking, and then that's how it starts. But they're going to have to decide to be in it for the long run, because it's not just, oh, one day, you're not going to change your thinking in one day, because it took you your whole lifetime to form this mindset. And it may seem like it's taking a long time, but they're going to have perseverance, and they're going to have to decide, this is my lifelong goal to, or my lifelong work to change my mind. Just look at your other non-black counterparts. They're succeeding more than you are. Look at them. If they're succeeding in their marriages, what are they doing that maybe I could take one or two tips from them and apply them and see if it'll work? But are women willing to even do that? The answer is no, because first of all, they don't believe that they should change. Why should I change for a man? Well, baby girl, you're not just changing for a man, you're changing for yourself. because and they're these women that are highly educated, I always say things like, but when you were going to school to get your degree, you were focused, you were intentional, and you had to change your study habits and improve or upgrade your study habits. These are all changes, whether you liked to do those changes or not, but you knew that you wanted that degree, so you were willing to do everything on planet Earth in order to adjust yourself and get that degree. Well, it's the same way you have to do if you want a strong, healthy, long lasting marriage. It's the same thing. But when it comes to relationships, they don't believe that it's the same way they fought for their degree that they're going to fight for the type of man that they want. They don't believe. They believe those are two separate things, but they're not.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with that because I've run into that. I mean, actually, when I first started, quote unquote, dating coaching, several women came out to CSC, and they literally said, they were like, "What you teach is hard." That's how they said it. They were like,
Wow.
"What you teach is hard." And I told
Wow.
them, I said, "You've been trained a certain way for 18, 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to recognize how you've been trained is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to change. And so all these things you have to learn over and over again. My brother-in-law, he's a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, the worst people to work with are actually people that are stroke victims. Because what happens is you can lose things like even your ability to write. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't even write your name anymore. Or you might not, like I said, the whole side of your body, you have to walk again. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, working with those people is so difficult because that was when they were 7 years old and 5 years old and 3 years old and 1 years old. And they don't recognize that it was work. It took 2 and 3 years to learn how to walk properly. And so
Yeah.
now at 60, 70, 80 years old, they're having to learn how to do it again.
Again.
And it's so much pain. And I think that's what a lot of women go through is that they think they have it. And now at 30, 35, 40, or whatever it is, now they're like, oh crap, you're telling me I learned wrong?
Yeah.
All this time I learned wrong. I've been chasing Pookie and I was supposed to be chasing Russell. I was supposed to be chasing this one guy, but now I'm trying to do this. Oh crap,
Yeah.
what do I do? And then now the time
Yeah.
is running out, for a lot of their hopes and dreams. And so now they don't really know where to go. So I definitely
Yeah.
think that's really good. I did want to, because I don't want to take, too long. I never like my
That's
videos
okay.
too long. But I wanted, because I think this would be really good. So when you were going after your husband, right? Or you guys were dating, or he came up to you, or however you guys met. What I would like for you to help the women out there, because they're always trying to find out where can I meet these guys? How do I talk to these guys? Where are they at? How do they move? So, from a woman's perspective, like if you were newly single, I know your husband's great, but you're newly single, you're out here in the world, what would be the characteristics of what you would consider to be a really great guy? How would he have to approach you? How would you get on that first date? What is the guy that would get your phone number versus the guy who wouldn't get your phone number? So I want Black women to make good decisions. And sometimes listening to me is, they're like, oh, there's a dude, he don't know, blah, blah, blah. But maybe from a woman's perspective, especially a woman that's been successful in marriage, what would it take? How would, like I say, you go about that? Like I say, if a guy came up to you, what would be the qualifications, whether you're going to talk to him, not how the first date goes? Just give us a little bit about how you think you might handle that.
Well, first of all, in order for a man to even approach a woman, she has to come correct. And then, not necessary. I mean, physically, you have to look appealing physically. Even if you're not, you don't have to be necessarily skinny, but even if you are a little bit overweight, you have to at least be put together.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily over the top put together, but you have to look nice and clean. You have to look presentable, like you have to look as if you do take good care of yourself to begin with, for a man to even look your way. And then body language says a lot. You have to know how to, whether you're sitting, standing, talking,
Mm-hmm.
Body language is very important. So you have to just have that. I don't know how to describe it, or maybe I should just say how it happened for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It was one of my because I'm a nurse. So one of my friends that I went to nursing school with, she um was having a birthday party, and she invited me because of course we're friends. And I told her, I said, well, I have to work, so I'm not coming. And then everyone else, because we're all friends in the same community and stuff like that. So, and at that time, I was living with my parents because Africans, well, my parents believe a woman, not a man, a woman has to stay in her parents' house until the man comes to take her and marries her. So you have to marry from your parents' house. So I was staying with my parents at that time. I think I must have been 25 years old at that time, something like that. So for some odd reason, my work calls me and says, hey, we don't need you today, so you're off. So one of my other friends was there. She's like, okay, so that means you're going to go for the birthday party. I'm like, no, I'm so shy. I don't want to go. She's like, no, 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 no. If you don't put yourself out there, how do you think you're going to get a man? I'm like, oh gosh darn it, that's so true. So first of all, women have to know how to present themselves in public, and you have to be in public though. You have to actually go. There's no such thing as I'm going to sit at home and then he's going to come. He's not going to come. You have to put yourself out there. And when you're out there, don't be like the loudest woman in the room. Oh my God, no. Don't be loud.
Mm-hmm.
Be calm, not be quiet per se, but when you're talking, you want to be able to be graceful when you're talking, when you're walking, even when the way a woman would stand. You just have to pay attention to those little things that men pay attention to. How graceful are you when you're talking, when you're sitting by yourself, when you are standing, when you're eating? How graceful is this woman? Is she smiling? Is she, does she look, how does she look also? Those type of things. So for me, I did eventually go to this birthday party, and that's where my husband was. I guess that day I found out that she's also friends with my husband. So I just went in. It was a lot of people. It was in her house. So I just wherever there was a seat was by him. So I just sat down there and I turned. I didn't know who he was. I turned to him and I smiled and I said, "Hello, how are you?" That's it. I don't know this man from nowhere. But I was taught that wherever you go, you have to be polite, especially as a woman. You have to show that politeness. It doesn't mean that you are coming on to the man. It just means that you are being polite. I mean, because my father would always say, that's the winner. You go out there and you be polite, people are going to want to grab you naturally without you having to do much work. They just want you. They want because you've built that aura around you, that energy around you that says, wow, she is very pleasant. That pleasant, I think that's the word I'm trying to use. Just be naturally pleasant. It will go a long way for you in attaining those things that you want for yourself. So because my father taught that, when I was little growing up, I just learned how to be naturally pleasant to whoever I met. It didn't matter who. It's not hard to just turn to someone and say, hey, how are you? That's it. So I guess because I turned to him and I said, hi, I smiled and said, hi, how are you? He went and he asked my friend, what, who is she? What is she about? This, that, and the other. I honestly, I will say, I did not look very well. I looked put together, but nothing over the top. I mean, I was wearing flip flops for crying out loud. So, the way I guess the way he said, the way I sat down and the way I turned to him and I said, hello, I didn't ignore him. I didn't snob him. And that was the only thing I said to him, nothing else. That was it. So he said he just felt that there was something pleasant about me, like he could be around my presence. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how the whole thing started.
But no, but
So
see, to
it's just
me, we're. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, no. So it's the little things
Mm-hmm.
that we don't think are important. It's the little things that are actually important, not the big over, even if you didn't, because my mom, when I was leaving, my mom was like, that's how you're going? I'm like, yeah, don't I look good? She's like, no. My mom said, no, you don't look good for a party. I said, okay, well, fine. So it's not like I look flamboyant in my dressing or whatever the case may be. It's more so the way I presented myself, and because I've been working on it for years, you see. So I kind of created that energy, or that pleasant, oh, she's pleasant to talk to. Like I can talk to her and she won't make me feel, some type of way. That type of thing. If women could just cultivate that and start practice, because you have to practice it. It's not a one day thing, or it's not a one moment thing. You have to practice it in order to begin to start changing the energy around you. And so when people see you, even if you don't open your mouth, when people see you, there's something about you that it just exudes from you, like, wow, she looks like she could be pleasant. Maybe I can approach her.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's how it happens. Because what did I say to my husband at that time? Almost nothing. But he just felt that, wow, it seems like, I can approach her. And then, like the Nigerian man that he is, at the end of he asked me if I wanted to dance. I said, oh, I don't know how to dance, which was a lie. Then he said, okay, nope. So what he did was he stood up and reached his hand out to me. He said, take my hand. And I did, and that the rest is history from there. So before he left that day, he wrote his number down on whatever he wrote his number down. I can't even remember. And then he put it in my hand and closed my hand. He said, whenever you have time, no pressure, call me. And that was the end of that.
Yeah, that
It's
was
been
good.
it's
So,
been 16 years now. We're going on 17. I think September will be 17 years married.
oh wow, congratulations. Congratulations.
Because I live in the Western society, I must say that, and this is what I teach my children, influence is very powerful. That's why every day you have to ground yourself
Mm-hmm.
in not just the word of God, but you have to ground yourself in the truths that you believe, that are positive. Because I must tell you, even though I was raised in that traditional mindset, there were times in my marriage where I started to move towards that modern female mindset. And boy, it almost cost me, my marriage. It almost did. And my mom had to remind me of who she raised me to be. Because the influence of I don't know if I'm allowed to say the feminist perspective. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, but that influence is extremely powerful. So it got to me at some point in my marriage, and I started acting out of character, out of the character that my parents raised me to be. And when I realized that, uh-oh, it's going to cost me my marriage, I had to start reprogramming my mind all over again. So I get it when women are having a hard time reprogramming their mind. I honestly can relate to that, because the influence that's going on in this world, especially the one that separates man from woman, is it's a powerful influence. So that's one of the reasons why I said, well, let me create a YouTube channel and see how can I add to the awareness that's out there. I don't think that there's enough awareness of you can have a strong, healthy relationship with the man. So I don't really speak from the man's perspective because I'm a woman. My channel is for women. I'm trying to help women. Women, if you tweak a few things in your behavior and in your mindset, it can move you towards getting the kind of relationship that you want. So my own relationship hasn't always been sweet and beautiful and all that kind of stuff. We did have rocky patches, and I truly believe that most of the rocky patches we've had came from me. If I have to say that, it mostly came from me because I started buying into those feminist rhetoric that was not helping me in any old kind of way.
So here's one more thing, as we clear up, is well, I also wanted to just comment real quick. So when did you get married? You got married, you met him at
To
25. You
Yeah,
got
I was 25. Was I 25?
so
I
when did
take
you
that
get
back.
married?
Sorry, I'm thinking when I graduated from nursing school. I was 27 when I met him. I met him in 2005.
Okay. And so when did you get
And
married?
and then we got married in 2007. So our first date,
So
he
at
said,
29.
yeah, I was 29 when I got married in 2007.
Okay. The reason why I want to say that is because that's another issue with a lot of Black women is that they think that they have to wait to their 30s to get married. And I'm always encouraging them to try to get married in their 20s if they can. And again, that's a narrative that plays, especially among the women who didn't have fathers. And it's unfortunate that they're constantly their best time to me is in their 20s, and then they're just squandering it, thinking that they can party and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, you can party with your husband. You know, I mean, why aren't you trying to travel with your husband and do all these great things with your husband? He's supposed to be your best friend. But one more thing
Exactly.
I did want to talk about. Can you describe, like I said, maybe a day or two or three things that you do, through the week as far as what is being a wife like from your perspective? What is being a wife like? So do you get up? Are you the main one taking care of the kids? Are you the main one doing the cooking? Does he cook sometimes? Does he take care of the kids sometimes? I mean, what is a wife like world from your perspective?
Okay. So if I have to go through my life in general, um,
Just
I
every
wake up
day,
in,
just
yeah, yes,
the
every day.
average day.
Right. So I already know that fitness is a big part of my life. So it's very helpful if I wake up way ahead of time so I can take care of myself first. Because I believe I am a selfish person, but I'm selfish in a different way. Not the way the world views selfish, but I believe that if I don't take care of myself, I cannot show up authentically for my family. So, and my kids are kind of grown a little bit. The youngest one is 13, but they're very outdoorsy type of children. I want to go outside and can you play ball with me? And, so I have to make sure that I'm physically fit and that my activity tolerance is kind of high for them, you see? So instead of waking up when they wake up, I wake up 2 hours before them, before my whole family. And then I take care of my own health and fitness. And
Mm-hmm.
then they wake up. And so when they wake up, I'm already cooking breakfast or whatever it is that I'm doing, this, that, and the other. Um, that's when I'm home in the morning time. And then I would, you know, put my husband's aside, his aside. See, that's what I do. That's how I was raised. If you're cooking your meals,
Mm-hmm.
always take your husband's own first and put that aside, cover it up and put it aside. And then the children can come grab whatever it is that they're grabbing from everywhere. His has to be put aside first. That's how my mom did it. And that's what she taught me. And I love that idea,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that if the kids are messing up the food and here, there, and everywhere, at least his is not messed up. His is intact. And
Mm-hmm.
he gets the best part. I make sure my husband gets the best part, which is what he likes. And I put that aside. The kids are on board. The three of our kids understand that. They don't have a problem with that. So that's what I do. I put his aside. And then I go about my day. I do my thing. And, when he wakes up, I check with him and stuff like that. He checks with me. But I think that it's every day that I wake up married to my husband, I make that conscious decision that me and him are going to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying get along in terms of we don't have arguments and stuff. Mm-mm. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about overarching goal is for me and him to get along. Okay. So even when situations arise, when arguments arise, I know back down. I'm naturally like that anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but I know this is, if he's talking, this is not the time to open your mouth and say whatever it is you want to say. Let him finish first. I have come to realize it works better that way for the type of outcomes that I want. See, I want a strong, healthy family. So,
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to have that, there are certain things, even if I have to bite my tongue, I'll bite it. It's only temporary, though. I have to tell myself that it's just temporary until he's done saying what he has to say. Then I can come out and respectfully say what I want to say. That is the part of feminine energy that just trumps everything, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of women believe that it is a weakness. My mom says, no, 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 no. That is not a weakness. That's your power. Because when you let him say whatever it is he's trying to say and you don't interrupt him, he's going to in turn let you say what you have to say and probably allow you do other things that you want to do. That's how the powers have to balance out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get a happy husband. The happy wife, happy life. That to me, that's a new concept. I don't understand it. So
I don't
therefore
understand
I
either.
can't get behind that simply because I don't understand what that is. The
Mm-hmm.
happy wife, happy life. I don't understand it. I was raised treat your husband like a king, and then in turn, you get more benefits than you ever bargained for. So that's what I'm about. I'm about getting you know, the benefits more than I've ever bargained for. And that's the kind of life that I'm currently living. Not to say that we don't have a push pull,
Mm-hmm.
but we're having less push pull than when we first started. You see, but I hung in there, and I the changes I needed to make inward
Mm-hmm.
I didn't divorce my husband and say, well, I'm going to go, you know, heal. I healed while I was still married to him. But I realized that I was the one that had to do the inward healing. He probably did too. But like my mom would say,
Mm-hmm.
whoever does the most complaining has to change first. That's what my
Totally
mom told me.
understand.
So I was like, oh gosh, darn it. I guess I'm the one. So I had to go through certain changes in the mind. And that's how I'm able to get the kind of marriage now that I've always wanted. And we just continue to move because every day you got to work at it. I
Mm-hmm.
guess some women believe that once you get the man, you don't have to work at every day. It's like when you work out, when you're lifting weights. If you don't use your muscles, you're going to lose their capacity. Same thing with marriage. Marriage is a relationship. If you don't work at your relationship daily, you're going to lose it, in the end. So I cater to my husband? Absolutely. I cater to him. I do the cooking. The cleaning, I do some cleaning. He does a little, some cleaning too, but our kids do a lot of cleaning. They're grown. They gotta learn how to clean, their environment, that kind of thing. But I cater to my kids, I cater to my husband, and it makes me happy because I see that my family is well taken care of. And then in turn, my husband does things for me that just blow my mind. I'm like, oh my God, wow, because of the things that I do without complaining. And like he says, I noticed that you do these things from a place of love, no longer from a place of, oh, I have to do this. He said, you now do it from a place of love. Like it seems like your spirit has changed. And those are the things that I've always wanted to hear because that's how my father talked to my mother. So I wanted that for myself too. So I knew that if that's what I wanted, I had to work towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a lot of women don't want, the problem is the work that's involved. But I'm like, you have to put in any work anyway in any area of your life. Don't leave out the relationship part. You gotta work towards that too.
Yeah,
See.
and I mean, like I said, I just think a lot of I think there, like I said, Black people in America that understand it, and I think there's Black people in America that, like I said, they've never seen it, so
Mm-hmm.
they don't know, and many of them have watched, unfortunately, many of them have just watched their moms suffer what they think is suffering,
Mm-hmm.
throughout all those years, being the only person doing everything. So now on the other side of it, they don't really know. And then to be
Right.
honest, and I understand what you were saying, because you were like, look at the other cultures. Well, Black people, be honest, they don't trust white people
Mm-mm.
because white people brought us here. So it's like, okay, well, how do we trust them? So I think it's really good, like I say, that you were actually able to come over, and talk because you have more of a Nigerian culture, which is an African
Mm-hmm.
culture, which like I know 70% of my blood is African. And so most of them, Black Americans, 50 to 70% of our blood, it goes back, to West Africa. I mean, that's where most of us are from. So
Yeah.
it's good for us to know that, look, if we had never been taken, we would probably have your culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we will be living. And so it's good for them to see that and to understand that it's coming from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've really been trying to let a lot of Black people understand is that it's coming from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to fix these things that I call generational curses,
Right.
that it really wasn't our fault, but
Right.
it is up to us to fix it, through God and through, what He has instilled. And I honestly believe, I try to tell people, that's the only reason why I'm doing this. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that one day there might be some money, but it's like for me, is a million other things I could do. And like I said, my heart has always been in media.
Yeah.
So, for me to be doing this is just a part of it. But I definitely thank you for coming on today. I think we probably have
Sure.
about an hour or so. And, maybe you can come back another time and we can talk about, some other fun stuff. So I
Sure.
do,
That'd be great.
yeah, yeah. And I wish you well on your
Thank
channel. And
you.
again, I'll try to put it in the comments below. So
Okay.
again, thank you. And for all the people that watch me, remember there's a lot of stuff in the description because I'm always about getting you all married. And I think it's really
Mm-hmm.
important that we listen to both sides. That's my big thing
Yes.
on this channel. It's been my thing, forever. I've had a couple of interviews and different things like that on this channel. So you guys can go check those out. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm always just about finding solutions, and we need to be about finding solutions if we want, to do better in the future. So always remember to like this video. Please subscribe if you have never subscribed before, and I am going to see you in the very next video.